2, 1. In alhamdulillah wa salat wa salam ala wa rasulullah. Today, guys, we're continuing with the hadith from Sahih Muslim, Kitab el Salat. Today, we're going to speak about the Isha prayer, its beginning and its ending time, because this is where a lot of Muslims are confused. We have to first of all understand what is the meaning in English of the Arabic word Isha. Isha means nighttime, guys. Just like Maghrib means sunset, Isha means night. The Isha prayer, this is our night prayer. Does everybody understand? Okay? And the night prayer begins immediately after the sun has set. Everybody understand that? So Maghrib is sunset in English. Isha is night in English. You name your daughter Isha, you're naming her night. Okay? Layla is midnight. I hate my name. It means midnight. Or some crazy stuff. I don't know. But Isha in the Fusha is night. Everybody understand that? So, the Isha prayer begins immediately after the sunset. And by the way, guys, the sunset is determined when the red has disappeared from the sky. You guys understand that? When you look outside and you see red, okay, that's how you know it's Maghrib time. But when the red has disappeared, it is now Isha. Is that clear? And this is important because there are some Muslims during the month of Ramadan, they do not break their fast until the red is gone. They've broken their fast too late because when the red disappears from the sky, it's now Isha. Okay? So where is the evidence of what I'm saying? Well, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to recite the night prayer when the sun had set and disappeared. So there's the proof of the timing. The timing of the Isha prayers after that sun has set and that red has disappeared. One of the companions tells us we used to observe the night prayer with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then one of us would go away and you could see the place where his arrow would fall. You know, that's signifying, nighttime. For us, it's easier because all you have to do is follow the timing of your masjid. We don't have to go outside and look up at the sky and determine what time it is. Nowadays we have clocks and all that. We have the adhan callers and all of that. You can just call your local masjid and ask them to give you a listing of the times, of the prayers and all of that. Okay, but just so you know, Isha means night, and night prayer begins after the sun has set. The sun has set. When you look outside and see all the red gone from the sky, that's nighttime. There's a lot of Muslims that think Maghrib is nighttime. No, Maghrib is not nighttime. It's sunset. Okay? And now we get to the big part. The timing of the Isha prayer. There's a lot of Muslims out there who want to make you believe that Isha ends at midnight. This is not correct. This is not correct. This is not correct. In fact, guys, the only prayer that you do get more reward for performing after the adhan is Isha. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to wait and pray the Isha prayer up until the last third of the night. Where's my evidence? Well, Aisha tells us that they used to pray the night prayer between the disappearance of the red up until the final third of the night's beginning. There it is from Sahih Bukhari. Also, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if it were not a hardship upon you, I would command you to hold off praying Isha until a third or even half of the night has passed. There it is. So doesn't that shoot to pieces this midnight? There's your evidence. That shoots to pieces the theory that Isha ends at midnight. Also, we have a hadith, whereas once Abu Sa'id said, we waited for the Prophet to lead us in the night prayer. Half the night had went by. Then he finally came and prayed with us. He told us, stay in your places of sitting while the people have gone to their places of lying down, because you are in a state of worship as long as you are waiting for the prayer. And this is a point I want you guys to remember too. If you're at the mosque, you have your wudu, and you're sitting there waiting for the imam to come out and lead you in prayer, you are in a state of prayer. You're getting blessings for that. Also, which is another topic, sitting here at this website with me, learning the religion, this is a state of prayer too. But I want you guys to focus on the fact that when you're at the mosque, you're getting blessings for sitting there waiting for the imam to come out and lead you. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if it were not for the weakness of the people and the illness of the people, I would postpone praying Isha until half the night is over. There you go. That's way past midnight, guys. So again, guys, those hadiths there describe the best time to pray Isha. It's best to postpone praying Isha up until the beginning of the last third of the night. You get more blessings. Why? You can figure out why. Because Allah loves for us to make sacrifice for Him. You're giving up your sleep. You're giving up your rest to remember Him. Great reward in that. Does everybody understand? So that's the only prayer that you get more blessings in postponing. The other prayers, the closer to the Adhan you make them, the greater the reward. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and I want you guys to memorize this hadith. I repeat, memorize this hadith. I repeat, memorize this hadith, because when the people of fitna come to attack you for knowing your religion, you always make them wear egg. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said there is no negligence in sleeping, but the negligence lies in not praying a prayer until the time of the next prayer. There's the evidence. There is the proof that Isha ends at Fajr. Hello. The only prayer that is not ending at the beginning of the next is Fajr. Fajr ends at sunrise. So there's your evidence. So you have up until Fajr to pray Isha. And by the way, guys, Fajr translates into English to mean dawn. So you have until dawn to pray the Isha prayer. But it's best to make it at the beginning of the last third of the night. And you guys know the last third of the night is right before Fajr. We've taught you that in other classes. The last third of the night is right before Fajr. So the beginning of that last third is the best time. The Prophet used to pray at different times. Sometimes he prayed Isha in the beginning of the night. Sometimes he prayed it in the middle of the night. You'll find so many hadiths of in Muwatta, especially Muwatta. I love Muwatta because Muwatta is from the companions themselves, and you'll see many different companions telling you how they prayed Isha in the beginning of the night with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Some of them prayed in the middle of the night with him. Some of them prayed right before Fajr. So you can pray Isha up until Fajr. Let's look at this next hadith. Ibn Umar says, we waited one night expecting the Prophet to come out and lead us in Isha, and he did not come out until a third of the night had passed. Even after that. In other words, he came out after. This is right before Fajr. He came out even after a third had passed. We don't know if he was busy with his family or what, but anyway, when he came out, he said, if it were not a burden to you, I would have you delay this prayer until this last third of the night. So again, all these hadiths are the proofs that Isha does not end at midnight. Why do so many people tell you that? Because they don't know the hadiths. What did the Prophet Muhammad say? Until you learn my sunnah, you will never understand the Quran. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, there will appear amongst you many people who will be able to recite the Quran beautifully, but it will never go past their throats. They will issue fatwa that goes against what I have said, that goes against what I have done. Do not be intimidated by them. He said, because until you know my sunnah, you will never understand the Quran. Hello. So that's why you have a lot of famous brothers on the internet, guys. Many of them you think are scholars, and they really are not. Because until you learn the sunnah, you are not a scholar. I don't care how much Quran you can recite. Until you learn the sunnah, you can never be a scholar of anything. Okay? These are just famous speakers. Anyone telling you that Isha ends at midnight, they don't know this religion at all. You have until the beginning of the next prayer for every prayer except for Fajr. Is that clear? Is there anyone here now misconstrued? I don't want to hear any of you from this website telling people that they got until midnight to pray Isha. I don't want to hear any of you arguing about it. And by the way, don't argue with people. Like I said, I've been slandered, beat down, abused all my life on this issue here about this midnight and Isha. And I've learned to just walk away from people, to just ignore them and just keep on going. Okay? It's not you can't help the fact that most people are ignorant about the deen. You need to learn how to tell people, I know my religion. If you've lost your religion, go out and look for it. I know my religion. I'm not going to waste my time arguing with somebody, fighting with somebody. It's not my job to prove anyone wrong. That's between you and Allah. You think you know the deen? The Prophet said, do not speak about this deen unless you know it. You think you know it and you want to put yourself in that position to speak about it? That's between you and Allah. I'm going to look at you, smile, and walk away. I'm going to look at you, smile, and walk away. I know that Isha does not end at 12 o'clock. I know I got up until Fajr to pray Isha. Thank you. And you just walk away. Do you guys understand? Do not get in arguments, because nowadays people will take out a machine gun and shoot you. That's what's so bad. You got Muslims killing other Muslims over this type of issue. Nonsense. Okay? We have a hadith here whereas Aisha tells us that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to lead the women. The women would pray with the men. The women would come out for the morning prayer. This is Fajr. Fajr is the morning prayer, the dawn prayer. The believing women would come out to pray Fajr wrapped in their cloaks, And then they would go back to their houses and you wouldn't be able to tell who they were. That's how it's speaking about the time of Fajr here. Again, nowadays we have a clock. Nowadays we have the Adhan. Nowadays all you have to do is call the masjid, ask the mosque, what's the time for the prayers? What time is the Adhan called for Fajr? But back then they're telling us how, the Fajr prayer begins at dawn and the Fajr prayer ends. You have up until sunrise. You have up until sunrise to pray the Fajr prayer, and the Prophet would lead them in the beginning. He would lead them in the beginning of dawn. That's what this hadith is talking about. One of the companions tells us that the people asked him about how the Prophet did the prayer times. He said the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to pray the afternoon prayer in the midday heat. He's speaking about the Dhuhr prayer. The afternoon prayer, he would also sometimes pray it when the sun was bright. Okay? The evening prayer, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this is a night prayer. He would pray it when the sun had completely set. That means all the red is gone. But sometimes he would delay the night prayer and pray it during the early hours, and sometimes he would pray it during the later hours. So here it's showing, all these hadiths are showing how you have until the beginning of the next to pray, except for Fajr. Fajr ends at dawn. It begins at dawn and ends at sunrise. Okay? This hadith here, one of the companions said that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not mind delaying the Isha prayer, sometimes up to midnight, and even up till the third part of the night. So again, it doesn't end at midnight. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not like talking or sleeping before the Isha prayer. And he would recite the morning prayer, which is the Fajr prayer, up to 160 verses. Okay, so again, these are all hadiths speaking about the times of the Isha and the Fajr prayer. And again, to delay, this is an example of bad, transliteration. Delaying the prayer does not mean to pray the prayer later. It means to pray out of the prayer's time frame. Does everybody understand that? To delay the prayer means to pray a prayer beyond its prescribed time. And the Prophet taught us that that's one of the signs of the last hour. One of the signs of the last hour is the imams will lead people in prayer and delay it. Pray it outside of its time frame. Like I told you guys, a lot of people make Maghrib after the time frame. They wait till the red disappears. No, now you're praying Isha. Abu Dar tells us that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, how would you act when you are under rulers who delay the prayer beyond its prescribed time? Or they make a prayer dead by praying it after its proper time. And Abu Dar said, well, what would you tell me to do if I lived to see that happen? The Prophet said, if you live to see this happen, you pray your prayer at the proper time. And then when you go to the mosque and the imam prays it, pray it with him, and it will count as a voluntary prayer for you. And that's what I tell brothers today. There's a lot of brothers that will email me and say, Sister Layla, the imam where I live, he doesn't make Maghrib until it's time for Isha. So what do? And I tell them, I'll say, Brother Haji, you pray your prayer. You pray the Maghrib prayer on time. And then go to the mosque, and if the imam is praying it outside of the time frame, pray behind him, and you will get the reward of praying a voluntary prayer. And there's the evidence. This is how I can give you that type of answer. When we answer questions about Islam, we have to be able to back them up with the authentic evidence from the hadith. Okay? In fact, during the time of Abu Darda, after the Prophet had died, someone led the people in prayer late. And that's what made Abu Darda tell them that the Prophet said this would happen. You pray your prayers on time and we will get, rewarded, for praying a voluntary prayer by praying with the imam. Okay? So this is one of the signs of the last hour, and we find it happening already today. Okay? So what lessons have we learned from the hadiths today? Well, we learn a lot. We learn, number one, Isha is an Arabic word that means nighttime in English. And Isha occurs when the red has disappeared completely from the sky. When you look up at the sky and you see no more red, it's time for Isha. Also, we learn that contrary to what many people tell you, Isha does not, I repeat, it does not, I repeat, it does not end at midnight. Instead, it ends at Fajr. Also, midnight is not even the best time to make it, like some tell you. The best time to make Isha is the beginning of the last third of the night, which is before Fajr. We also learn that every prayer ends at the beginning of the next prayer except for Fajr. That's the mercy of Allah. See how merciful Allah is. Allah knows that there are so many things that we do in our daily lives. We can get busy. We have to shop. We have to cook, clean. Some of us work third shift like myself. Do you know how wonderful a thing it is for me to know that I can pray Isha up until Fajr? Because I work third shift. Isha might come in. I don't have a chance to pray it on time. I'm busy dealing with my clients. But I can put my clients to bed. By the time I get them to bed and settle down, it's around 2 o'clock in the morning. Or it's around 3 o'clock in the morning. And that's the beginning of the last third of the night for me. I usually make my Isha prayer around 2 or 3 in the morning. Because I can concentrate on praying because my clients are all asleep and settled down and my co-workers are off watching television or something. And I can sit there and remember my Lord. I can sit there and ask Allah to forgive Sister Izdihar of her sins and make her grave spacious, and to forgive Brother Bilal and Sister Elizabeth and make their graves. I can do that. I have that last, third of the night to make my Isha. So Allah does this. He knows his creation better than we know ourselves. And Allah has made the religion easy for us. We make it hard on ourselves by not learning the true Islam. Instead, we're listening to famous people on the internet tell us things like it ends at midnight, when it's not correct, when these men are not even scholars. Most of them are not even scholars. They're just famous speakers. Learn the deen, guys. Also, we learn that if you are in a state of purity with your wudu and you're at the mosque waiting for the imam to come out and lead you, you're getting blessings for that too. And also, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us that it's best to pray the Isha prayer at the beginning of the last third of the night. Not midnight. You can pray it at midnight, but that's not the best time. The best time is the beginning of the last third, as the hadiths have illustrated. And by the way, remember, this is the only prayer in which the reward is greater after the adhan, because Allah loves for us to sacrifice for him. We also learned today what it means to delay a prayer. To delay a prayer means that you have prayed it outside of its prescribed time. In other words, you prayed it late. It was over when you prayed it. And finally, we learn that if you do have an imam who does not make his prayers on time, he prays them outside the time frame, you make your salat and then on time. And then when you go to the mosque, Pray behind him still, and Allah will have it count as a voluntary prayer for you. So a lot of lessons we learned from these hadiths today. I want you guys to ponder the meaning of them. And I want you guys to share them with your children and your family. And then tomorrow, make sure you guys come here, because I'm going to give you a quiz to see if you truly understood the meaning of these hadiths. I've given you the evidence. I've given you the dalil. I've explained it to you in plain, simple English terms. No Arabic, simple English. Let's see if you guys can, incorporate it. So we'll stop right here. If you guys have any questions or comments, you can type them on the screen. If something is not clear, you need more clarification, go ahead and ask. Subhanakallahumma bihamdika, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik.